Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson, World Alternative Media here, and what if I told you the CDC just came out themselves and said your chance of dying from the coronavirus, if you get the coronavirus and you're not in a nursing home, is 1 in 1,000, and possibly way less than that when you study their most recent survey. And their own study, it's on their own site, cdc.gov, coronavirus/2019 ncov/hcp/planning scenarios.html. Guys, this is everything we've been saying for a good while now, and we got demonetized on YouTube for talking about it. They claim that we were fake news. Well, here we are, guys. Before we get into this study, first, make sure to hit the like button, check the links below, join our new newsletter at iamband.com, and make sure to join us on Flote, flote.app, and BitChute, and check the ways that you could pledge and donate to keep this independent media alive, because we did get demonetized by YouTube for not towing the line of the World Health Organization and the CDC. Anyways, let's get into this news. As I showed you on the screen here, this is a COVID-19 pandemic planning scenarios, and we could go into the study in depth, but I wanted to go into an article in a moment here. You could see some of the overall fatality ratios there in the study. I wanted to go into an article from Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity. Of course, we interviewed Dr. Ron Paul a couple weeks ago here at WHAM. As this article says, the CDC confirms remarkably low coronavirus death rate. Where is the media? This is an article written by Daniel Horowitz. Let's go into this article, my friends. As it says, most people are more likely to wind up 6 feet under because of almost anything else under the sun other than COVID-19. The CDC just came out with a report that should be earth-shattering to the narrative of the political class, yet it will go into the thick pile of vital data and information about the virus that is not getting out to the public. For the first time, the CDC has attempted to offer real estimates of the overall death rate for COVID-19, and under its most likely scenario, the number is 0.26%. Officials estimate a 0.4% fatality rate among those who are symptomatic and project a 35% rate of asymptomatic cases among those infected, which drops the overall infection fatality rate to just 0.26%. Almost exactly where Stanford researchers pegged it a month ago. And you can see a shot of the study there. As it continues here, it says, until now, we have been ridiculed for thinking the death rate was that low, as opposed to the 3.4% estimates of the World Health Organization, which helped drive the panic and the lockdowns. Now the CDC is agreeing to the lower rate in plain ink. Plus, ultimately, we find out that the IFR is even lower because numerous studies and hard counts of confined populations have shown a much higher percentage of asymptomatic cases. Simply adjusting for a 50% asymptomatic rate would drop their fatality rate to 0.2%. Exactly the rate of fatality Dr. John Ioannidis of Stanford University projected. More importantly, as I mentioned before, the overall death rate is meaningless because the numbers are so lopsided. Given that at least half of the deaths were in nursing homes, a back-of-the-envelope estimate would show that the infection fatality rate for non-nursing home residents would only be 0.1% or 1 in 1,000. And that includes people of all ages and all health statuses outside of nursing homes, since nearly all of the deaths are those with comorbidities. The CDC estimates that death rate from COVID-19 for those under 50 is 1 in 5,000 for those with symptoms, which would be 1 in 6,725 overall. But again, almost all those who die have specific comorbidities or underlying conditions. Those without them are more likely to die in a car accident, and school children whose lives, mental health, and education we are destroying are more likely to be struck by lightning. To put it in perspective, one Twitter commentator juxtaposed the age-separated infection fatality rates in Spain to the average yearly probability of dying of anything for the same age groups. Based on data from the Social Security Administration, so he used Spain because we don't have a detailed infection fatality rate estimate for each age group from any survey in the US. However, we know that Spain fared worse than almost every other country. This data is actually working with a top line IFR of 1%, roughly 4 times what the CDC estimates for the US. So if anything, the corresponding numbers for the US will be lower. And it says here, being alive means there is a risk that you will die in every year of your life. Normally, we don't think about this because the probability is very small. It turns out that even if you are infected with COVID, your increased risk to die versus normal is not very large at all. And look, guys, let's get into this a little bit. So they are basically saying that your chances of dying from COVID-19, if you have symptoms, 1 in 5,000 if you're under 50. If you don't have symptoms, if all in general, symptom or no symptoms, it's like 1 in 6,000 and something. And keep this in mind as well, that if you consider that stat, and then remember that asymptomatic cases could be at least 20 times higher than what they claimed, then that would mean most people, almost all people that get it, are asymptomatic, and that number would drive down even more so. My friends, this is the biggest scam, the biggest fraud we've ever seen. I've been saying it since January, and here we have in plain ink from the CDC themselves. But you won't hear this on TV. You won't hear people talk about this anywhere except for independent media, which is being censored for talking about it. This is obviously a narrative that they want to stick to for an agenda, for a reason. Remember, they said 3.5% to 7% death rate back in February for this virus, which was created in a lab. That is so much more high than what we are seeing right now, that means that they must have known, at least to some extent, that this was a case. They shut down everything. They forced people into their kennels, homes. They forced people into tracking systems where they're told that if they want to leave their home, they have to be traced everywhere. Police have been beating people up for not wearing masks in the middle of a beach while the police beating them up don't have a mask. And on top of all of this insane government insanity, Orwellianism, communism, fascism mixed together, more importantly, you have the complete destruction of the global economy. The complete destruction of markets. Now, of course, COVID-19 was a catalyst for this. And actually, I shouldn't say COVID-19 was a catalyst for it. The government was a catalyst for it. But this has been something that's been brewing for a long time. The dominoes just had to be pushed over. A small gust had to blow it over, really. But with that said, we got to stop blaming the virus did this, caused this. No, the government caused that. The government is the one that pushed people into their homes. The government is the one that's impoverishing everyone. The government is the one that's taking over your lives in every single way and making you feel like cattle on a farm. And finally, people are starting to feel that. It's been happening for a long time, but finally people are starting to recognize that. It's the government and the banking system and these groups of corrupt, communistic scientists. And I say that because they aren't real scientists. They have a religion of science. They have a religion of government. And these people, the World Health Organization, funded by Bill Gates, is headed by Tedros, who's one of the heads of the Ethiopian Communist Party and works hand in hand with technocratic China to create as much of a vast technocratic grid as we possibly can see. And the United Nations has been in on this for a long time, and they've been working with China for a long time. So has the US. They've been coordinating to create the new world order. Now, of course, on top of that, Bill Gates, he funds the World Health Organization, but he also, alongside China, by the way, who's been running to the rescue of the World Health Organization, but also Bill Gates funds Fauci. Fauci runs the Institute for Allergies and Infectious Diseases. And Fauci, utilizing that institute, worked under millions of dollars from U.S. government grants at the Wuhan Institute of Virology to study coronavirus in bats that was 96% similar to novel coronavirus found in the Yan'an caves nearby. And in this study, they worked on how they could take coronavirus and spread it to humans. That's literally the point of the study. At what point don't people see that this is Obviously a false flag, the biggest false flag in history. This is the biggest government power grab in the history of the world. This is the biggest economic collision course we've ever been on in the history of the world. I've been trying to warn about it for years. People didn't have to listen, but here we are. This is a situation we're in. People will still say fear-mongering. Those people are idiots. Plain and simple. If you don't want to, you think this is fear-mongering when we're literally watching this outside of our window, where we look at 52% of small businesses say they will never exist after the coronavirus is gone. If you look at 24% of restaurants that say they will never reopen again. If you look at the bankruptcy left and right, if you look at the starvation, the suicide rate, the domestic abuse rates, the murder rates, the child abuse rates, if you look at that and still say I am fear-mongering, see you later. Because this is serious. This isn't about educating anymore. This is about taking action. Not asking for permission, being the permission. And it's about damn time we do that. This is why I got demonetized by YouTube. This is why they're censoring my content. This is why I have 141,000 subscribers here on YouTube and have the viewership of someone with 10,000 subscribers. This is why. Because some of us out there dare to question this narrative, dare to question these corrupt bureaucrats, the epitome of corporatism, who've been enslaving humanity for centuries. And where will we go from here? We have this information. They're grabbing guns everywhere. They're trying to force vaccinate people. They're trying to not allow people to walk anywhere without social credit, basically, tied to ID 2020 and tied to vaccines and tied to a tracing app on your phone. And if you don't get it, you might get tattled on, and later on, you might actually get rounded up, as we've seen in Canada, as Theresa Tam, Canada's version of Fauci, proclaimed. And, of course, the Canadian government's working with the Chinese army to develop vaccines. Well, that sounds very safe. At what point do we have all this information and we do something? And that is a question for everyone watching today. And I mean, we look at, in Michigan, there's been a lot of great people, militiamen, that have dared to speak out and stand up. Good. There's people rising up right now in Hong Kong for separate reasons, but a lot of it has symptoms regarding the coronavirus. Remember, you cough and you have symptoms of the coronavirus. You could be dying of leukemia, and your shortness of breath says symptoms of coronavirus. Hospitals get money for it. And the hospitals are bankrupt because they're freaking empty. So, the numbers are fake. These numbers are probably even fake. It's probably much less bad than this because they keep lowering it down. And then they're going to try and say in a couple months, second wave, it's affecting children now, not just grandma, which there's no evidence yet, but they're saying in Britain there's something that's attacking children's tongues and it's a symptom of coronavirus. Same with bunions on your toes. I mean, just ridiculous stuff. And they will say, once everything's open, see, we told you so, you're selfish, get back inside. More people will submit, more people will bow down, get on their knees. Even though there's no science to this at all, the mainstream media is completely bought out. In Canada, they got a bailout, and the Canadian government filled out a list of approved medias. Welcome to Nazi Germany, my friends. And then we have in the US, very similar situation. All the medias, there's opposition, clash people against each other for the benefit of the state and the control of the state. Cause people to fight with each other, and then every now and then they'll throw a little thing out there for people, a few breadcrumbs. It's called a limited hangout. It's a CIA term, which means they'll tell you some of the truth, but not the entirety of the truth, to distract you from the entirety of the truth. So the entirety of the truth never comes out. This is what we're dealing with. I'm sorry if I'm getting angry, but we've been over this since January. I left the US for Mexico. I'm living in Mexico right now. It's been like 2.5 months. And I did it because I want to protect my freedoms. And when they're talking about military police in the streets, when they're talking about throwing you in jail, they're releasing murderers who chopped up people, stabbed people out of prison, and then filling those prisons up with people who aren't wearing masks and people trying to feed their family by opening their business. You will have a damn revolution on your hands, my friends. And I speak, of course, to the state, to the governments of the world. You will have a revolution on your hands. Keep pinching the bear. Keep pulling on its fur. Keep throwing a little bit of vinegar in its wounds. See how far it gets you. Now, I don't believe long-term they will succeed, but short-term they certainly are succeeding because people have become weak and dependent, and we are in that phase. Hard times create strong men. But we just got over strong men create good times create weak men create hard times. We've been the weak men for a very long time. I don't know if you guys noticed, but since World War II, pretty much. And that cycle's turning around again, and I hope you all are ready. And you all are prepared. But we will continue to report on all of this. Again, CDC, once again, they were caught fudging the numbers. They just came out recently and said that it doesn't, after all, spread on surfaces very easily, after using that to fearmonger and close businesses. And now the numbers that they use to close businesses are again debunked by themselves. They'll say, well, we admitted to it. Yeah, on your site in a study that's very technical and no one's reading. But now at least there's a few thousand people that did see it. Anyway, I appreciate everyone joining us. Make sure to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, subscribe or anything to keep us up and running, because we are viewer-funded, solely viewer-funded. We cannot do it without you. They have demonetized us. Thank you so much to those of you who are pledging and donating right now. I really, truly appreciate it. This is what is the heartbeat of independent media and combating this propaganda that we witness on a daily basis that is enslaving people in chains that unfortunately so many revere. Also, join our new newsletter at www.iamband.com. And one of the most important things that you can do today is go and join BitChute if you haven't already. Subscribe to us on BitChute. Go and join flote.app, that's flote.app, and go and follow us at Josh Sigurdson as well as at WAM, at WAM, and we're on Library at WAM as well. We're on Minds. We're on all those things. If you want to find me on Instagram, all that. But the old guard system's going out. We need to join the new. And we need to have, instead of necessarily revolution, we need evolution via technology. And I think we will get that if we keep decentralizing, keep thinking about freedom, and keep telling the truth. And never, ever give up. Never, ever stop. Never, ever allow fear to force us to submit. Anyway, I appreciate everyone joining, and until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change. Like what you see here, OM? Don't forget to check the links below. GoFundMe, Patreon, subscribe star. We really can't do it without you. We've been so insanely shadow banned, about 90% at this point, and 95% demonetized. As Susan Wojcicki, the CEO of YouTube, comes in and says that she is shutting down quote-unquote controversial content and cutting out the views on this controversial content by 70%. She's been bragging about it. We need your help more than ever in this battle for truth in information. You guys are what keeps us alive, so we really appreciate just even $1 a month makes a huge difference. If everyone could give just $1 a month, we wouldn't even have to worry about competing against a mainstream propaganda networks. You can also donate to our Bitcoin address on the screen for you to scan if you please, as well as in the comments and description. Liking and sharing makes a big difference as well, and finding us on alternative social media platforms like flote.app, that's flote.app, makes a huge difference. We're at Josh Sigurdson as well as at WHAM. Flote is replacing Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Twitch, Tumblr, Reddit, and Patreon all in one with encrypted private messaging, and of course monetization on videos for creators, live streams with super chats in crypto, and most of all, no algorithm, because at the end of the day, it's all about reach, guys. This is all about actually reaching people with the message and waking up the public. You can also find us on Instagram, Twitter, Minds, BitChute, all sorts of different platforms. Try to follow us on as many things as possible, because very soon this channel will very likely just be completely deleted from YouTube, and you'll never see us again, and you'll be stuck with only the mainstream networks. Also, come on out and see us at Anarcho Vegas 2020 in Las Vegas, Nevada in July, where such speakers such as G. Edward Griffin and many others will be speaking. You could use promo code WHAM on your VIP tickets and save 10%, as well as buy extremely cheap tickets for just $20.20. You won't find a cheaper conference than this with such amazing names. Check anarchovegas.com for more information on that. We hope to see you out there. And anyway, I really appreciate all of you guys joining us. You make it possible for us to survive in this volatile, propagandized climate. Until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that.